All right, everybody, looks like it's done. Canada effed around and looks like we're about to find out. According to the White House, President Trump signed an executive order effective midnight tonight, where he's going to be increasing tariffs on Canada from 25 to 35%. So the Canadian economy will continue to suffer. It'll continue declining. It'll continue getting worse, at least for you and I, middle class Canadians, those at the bottom, those trying to get ahead. Things are getting so bad that the Canadian dollar just took a dive this very week as the deadline for a trade deal approached, in light of the fact that Europe got a deal, Japan got a deal, and even South Korea got a deal. But Canada is keeping their elbows up, trying to stay in denial, and our Canadian dollar has been going downhill since. This is what the Canadian dollar looked like just a week ago. It was up at 74 cents or so, went way down, and it went up a little bit, almost to 74 cents, which is crazy that that's the highlight of our currency, a G7 country currency. And it was at 74 cents on July the 23rd, exactly a week from today. And today is all the way down at 72 cents. And I'm telling you, it might just go down to 71, 70 cents over the weekend, because Canada still does not have a deal. If I were you guys, whoever's in Canada, whoever's out here, just like me, I would buy gold and silver, get myself some US dollars. Definitely get yourself off of the Canadian dollar. It's going to continue to go down. It's going to become more and more volatile and weakened as these people continue to purposefully destroy our economy. Mexico was also due today to have an increase on tariffs, but they managed to get themselves a 90-day extension to continue negotiating. It's really incredible to see how Mexico is more respected in the eyes of the United States than Canada. At least today's Canada is in the eyes of the USA. It's really a shame how far we've fallen. Let's take a look at this video having to do with the increase on the tariffs on Canada. Let's see.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. We are just hours away from President Trump's tariff deadline. At midnight tonight, the Trump administration will impose sweeping new tariffs on the majority of U.S. trading partners. President Trump has already announced frameworks for trade deals with 6 countries and the European Union. Some of those agreements were finalized in just the last week. But even some of our largest trading partners don't have a deal done just yet. The president says he's giving Mexico an extra 90 days to negotiate. The administration is still discussing trade with China. Talks over the weekend in Stockholm ended with no firm agreement. The two sides are considering their own 90-day extension to finalize a deal. And in lieu of a formal deal, the president has signed an executive order to increase tariffs on Canadian imports from 25% to 35% starting at midnight. Earlier at the White House, President Trump said trade talks were still happening just hours ahead of the deadline.
We'll see, but we have made a few deals today that are excellent deals for the country.
We got Triple H right here. For those of you who watch wrestling, one of the wrestling legends right there, at least of the early 2000s, Triple H. Is he working for the White House now? If he is, I wasn't aware. Let's get back to the video.
Making our country very rich and respected again. 1 year ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country in the world.
CBS News reporter Erica Brown joins us now. Erica, what's the latest?
Well, Jolene, the White House announcing President Trump signing an executive order increasing tariffs on Canadian goods from 25% to 35% to take effect on Friday, which was the president's tariff deadline for trade partners all around the world to reach new trade agreements with the United States. Now, in this executive order, the White House cites that part of the reason for these increased tariffs are Canada's role role, what they claim to be Canada's role in the opioid crisis. Now, this is something that the president for months has claimed that Canada is simply not doing enough to curb the flow of drugs, namely fentanyl and other illicit substances from coming across the northern border. And in this executive order, the White House says that Canada has failed to cooperate in curbing the flow of drugs. And so the president signing this executive order, raising that tariff to 35%. Now, the president had previously implemented a 25% tariff on Canadian goods that were not covered by the U.S. Mexico-Canada Free Trade Agreement. And this tariff will also encompass the same things. But this comes as the president also noted another issue that could threaten trade talks between the U.S. and Canada, and that is Canada's plans to recognize a Palestinian statehood at this year's UN General Assembly in September. Now,
they knew this was going to happen. Look, Carney knew this was going to happen. He knew Trump wasn't going to take that well. They knew that this was going to rub the United States government the wrong way. And they still chose to go ahead and say, you know what? We're just going to do it. We're going to keep our elbows up and we're just going to do it. We're going to recognize a terrorist state and we're going to make them a country in the eyes of the international community just to stick it to Trump while our dollar continues to nosedive, while our economy continues to free fall, and the Canadian middle class is vanishing each day more and more. This is, it's self-destruction. There's no other way to put it. I don't see what the strategy is here. What I see is lack of strategy, unless their goal is to actually do what they're doing, which is destroying the Canadian economy and decreasing our way of life, decreasing our quality of life in Canada, because that's what's happening, and they're being very successful at it.
So one of the reasons for this announcement was the suffering of Palestinian civilians in the Gaza territory. And this is notably a policy reversal for Canada. And President Trump had previously said that recognizing Palestinian statehood could be seen as rewarding Hamas. And he took to social media in the early morning hours responding to this move by Canada, saying it could undermine trade talks between the two countries. Now, Canada remains one of the U.S.'s largest trading partners, and the trade talks have been ongoing for months. But the Canadian Prime Minister warned that those trade talks could likely continue beyond the president's August 1st deadline. And today, the president signing an executive order implementing a higher 35% tariff on Canadian goods. Jolene?
No deal yet. So again, Mexico gets a 90-day extension to continue negotiating, which is a show of respect by the president of the United States, Donald Trump, giving him a chance to actually make their case and come up with some sort of mutually beneficial deal for Canada. It's just going up to 35%. And I have zero doubt that this is as a result of the latest in Canada, which is the prime minister announcing that is going to recognize the Hamas-run, Hamas-administered territory of Palestine as a country, as a sovereign state. That couldn't have helped negotiations. That it could not come at a worse time. If you're going to virtue signal, if you're going to try to show the world that you're a bleeding heart and this and that, do it after you've already negotiated. Get yourself a deal. Your middle class is disappearing. Canada, your middle class is in the worst shape it's been in 40 years. People are suffering out here. Businesses are failing and going bankrupt. And this guy's just playing politics with the economy. They simply just don't care. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Thank you all for subscribing. Special thanks to each and every one of the channel members. You guys keep us going. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one. All right. Thanks for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Special thanks to those of you who have donated to this project. It is much appreciated, and it helps me continue making videos. See you on the next one. Peace.